Justin Trudeau flew down to Mar-a-Lago, already making waves because obviously Trump put out the statement that they're going to tariff them to smithereens, essentially, all the countries. And all the world leaders now feel like they got to fly to Mar-a-Lago and, do the kiss the ring tour, if you will, as Rosie O'Donnell would call it. I think it's what she said that Joe and Minka did. They went down and they kissed the ring, and how dare they? I'll never watch MSNBC again. But that happened, and in that meeting, a very interesting tidbit came out.
That's right. So they were talking about these tariffs because President Trump is threatening 25% tariffs on both Canada and Mexico. And in this discussion at Mar-a-Lago with Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, Trump told him that, Canada has failed the United States at being a neighbor by allowing their border to be porous. We've heard that from Claudia Tenney, representative for New York, that they have a big issue with the border in New York from Canada with similar issues, people going to Canada and then illegally entering the United States or smuggling things like drugs and other illegal activities.
Yeah, we hear a lot about the southern border, but there is stuff happening.
Right. And so President Trump said, fix it, or 25% tariffs day one.
Which is wild.
Right. I mean, it's a hefty thing.
We're going to, there's going to be some interesting responses to all of that.
But Justin Trudeau said, listen, if you do that, our country can't survive. That will cripple Canada. To which President Trump responded with, basically, if you can't handle it, maybe you should become the 51st state. And don't worry, you can run for governor there. I know prime minister is a better title, but you could be Governor Trudeau of America's 51st state. So he's already putting things forward that are America first and not just doing what the past 4 years have happened of quiet diplomacy.
It's being funny but strong.
Right.
Because obviously we don't want Canada to be the 51st state. One, I mean, the electoral votes they would get, probably just from population.
We'd have to figure something out.
We'd have to figure something out. Maybe they don't get that kind of representation.
It could be a commonwealth.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put them in with the others that are like, oh yeah, we own that too. Mike, I wanted to break down some of the more recent headlines that have come out. We heard about the Trudeau meeting where tariffs took center stage with President Trump or President-elect Trump. Do you think we've successfully sent that message now that there's a new sheriff in town? When even you have threats, I mean, kind of in jest of Canada becoming the 51st state if they don't like what we have to present.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely the case that the whole world is on notice that what's been happening for the last 4 years, weakness, folks walking all over America, wars breaking out in different places. You saw the president's statement about the hostages. We still have Americans being held in the Middle East today. I think every one of these cases, the president is signaling that it's going to be back to where we were 4 years ago when President Trump was in office previously, where there's serious American leadership that will protect American interests, that will do the right thing for the American people. And when we do that, we'll have great partners and friends around the world. I think that's very clear. And I do, in fact, think you see foreign leaders and, frankly, not just their leaders, people all across the world saying, hey, this is refreshing, this is different. They'll struggle to figure their way through it. But I think they will all recognize that this will be a very different American leadership team than the one that they've been walking all over. And frankly, with respect to the wars, advancing their own interest at American costs with almost no cost to their country.
Mr. Secretary, the fact that these meetings are happening, the world leaders are going to Mar-a-Lago and meeting with President Trump and discussing really some of the campaign promises of President Trump about putting America first and how that would affect these foreign nations. But if President Trump can get these leaders on board, whether it be through the tough tool of tariffs or if they decide to play ball and fix things like the porous southern and northern border that is at center stage in many of these discussions. If this can happen, and there's almost a Reagan-esque Iranian hostage moment for President Trump, where all the work is going forward in these discussions, and then when he takes office, we immediately see big reversals of the Biden policy. Where do you think that lands us in the world and looking forward to the future?
No, I think you've got it exactly right. I think you'll see big shifts. I think you'll see big shifts very quickly. Frankly, I think you see many of them already. I think you see Putin already reacting to the new leadership in the United States, trying to figure out how to gain leverage in the conversation. I think you see Hezbollah saying, maybe it's best if we just sign up for a ceasefire deal before President Trump takes office. Hamas saying, hey, maybe this is in our best interest. Iranians saying, we can have it. I think this is already ongoing. I think these shifts are already taking place, much like we saw the hostages returned on President Reagan's first day. It wouldn't surprise me about what we see more things like that. And then I'll give you one other thought. That's also something that I think presents real risk for, what do we have left? 40 days, 45 days before President Trump takes office. Who's the commander in chief today? Who's actually structuring America's responses to global threats as we sit here for what is another month and a half? And we should be mindful that the fellow with the nuclear codes, the fellow who's still running the U.S. bureaucracy, is Joe Biden. And President Trump's doing his level best to get a running start, but that we still have a period here where he's not in complete control of what happens.
So this is from an article that came out on Thanksgiving Day. So it largely got overlooked, probably poor timing for that author, the journalist that did this work. But the headline is from the New York Times. With Trump returning and Hezbollah weakened, Iran strikes a conciliatory tone. So if you'll remember, just for a little bit of background, remember Iran, after the attacks on the Hezbollah leadership, launched all those ballistic missiles at Israel. Israel responded with airstrikes within Iran, and everyone was expecting in late October, early November, for Iran to once again retaliate. This is what the New York Times reporting discovered on this. All the recent diplomacy, talking about the shift in the tone in Iran, marks a sharp change in tone from late October, when Iran was preparing to launch a large retaliatory attack on Israel, with a deputy commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps warning, "We have never left an aggression unanswered in 40 years. Iran's swing from tough talk to more conciliatory tone in just a few weeks' time has its roots in developments at home and abroad. 5 Iranian officials, one of them a Revolutionary Guard member, and 2 former officials said the decision to recalibrate was prompted by Mr. Trump winning the November 5th election, with concerns about an unpredictable leader who in his first term pursued a policy of maximum pressure on Iran." So once again, you're seeing what could have continued to escalate into full war between Israel and Iran, because Iran has never left an aggression unanswered in 40 years, decided to not launch an attack in early November on Israel because Donald Trump won the election in the United States. I think that's a powerful testament to the leadership and the security and the peace that can come through his strong leadership. Just by winning the election, Iran decided now's not the time.
Yeah, pretty big statement. And hopefully that means we're going to see a lot of shifts in the world stage. I think you can feel it. I think you can feel this sort of difference in the air.